So this tutorial, we're going to take a look at creating a better unwrap and getting our character into Maya. So what I did over here is, if we look at our UVs before, they looked a little disjointed. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to re-unwrap our model. So I'm going to click on Z plugin here, and I'm going to drag this under color on the side over here. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to simply just click unwrap. And you'll see it says the function requires you to be at level 1. So let's click geometry, take this down to level 1. Now let's hit unwrap. Now let's take a look at how our unwrap looks. So if I go to texture map here, I'm going to go, it's going to say new from UV map. I'll click that. You can see that's the new layout. Looks a little bit better than before. Let's click new from polypaint. You're going to see it looks pretty crummy. So we want to go to geometry. Bring this way back up to 6. And then we want to do new from polypaint here. Back in our texture map. It should return our eyes in that cool cut that we did. There we go. So now our map looks a lot better. Let's kind of scroll over. Now in order to get this out of ZBrush, I'm going to click clone texture. And up at texture on top here, you'll see after we've cloned it, it'll appear here. Now let's go ahead and export this. What we have to do from Maya, or I'm sorry, to take it into Maya, you'll see that our head and everything is flipped. So we have to go to texture, and we actually have to flip it vertical. There we go. So that's this button here. And then I'm going to click export, and I'm going to save over the one that I created previously. I'm going to hit yes. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Let's shrink that. Let's go to geometry, take it down to level 1, and we're going to create something called a normal map, which is going to give us all of the height information for our model. So just click normal map. Click create normal map here. Alright, you'll see it appear here. In order to get it into this slot here for us to export, we have to clone it. And once it's cloned, you'll see it appear here. We want to flip it vertical. I'm going to go to export. And I'm going to save over in monster normal map here. The next thing I want to do is I want to get this model out of ZBrush. So with the model in the viewport, I'm just going to go to export. And I'm going to name him monster. And you really only have these files here. So you can do monster MA and name it monster here. If the MA feature isn't there, select OBJ. And I'm going to hit save. I'm going to pause the video and go ahead and open up Maya. So now with Maya open, let's take a look at two ways of importing in our ZBrush model. Go to Window, Settings and Preferences, Plugin Manager. You want to go down to OBJ Export, so just sort of look for it in here. There's OBJ Export and turn on Load and Auto Loaded. Now, what I want to do is I want to set my project to the folder that contains my Maya file and the two textures. So I'm going to go to File, here, Set Project. Mine is saved on the desktop. So desktop. Notice that it doesn't appear here because I'm using one of the student computers. So I'm going to have to drag my monster into the student disk. So let me pause the video and do that now. Notice in my student disk I have a folder called monster. I'm just going to click it and hit set. Create default workspace. Then I'm going to go to File, Import. And what I'm going to do is look for my monster OBJ and hit import. If you hit F, you'll be able to focus in on your monster once he appears. You can see that my monster is in different polypaint groups. These are the different groups that were set up by my Z-sphere. Now let's talk a little bit about the basics of Maya. In Maya, if you want to rotate around, you hold the Alt key down and click, just like in ZBrush. Now, what you'll notice again is my model is essentially upside down. If you want to zoom or pan, you have to hit the Alt and left click to zoom out. You can also scroll with your wheel to do the same thing. So this is sort of those options. Now you're looking at it in wireframe mode. What I'm going to do is hit 5, and you'll see here we are. we're in mesh mode, or smooth preview. 6 is texture mode. Make sure to hit 6 because that's what we want to be in. Okay, I'm going to actually just click off here without holding Alt or anything, and I just want to combine my monster. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to shift and left click. Oops, let's do this again. Or you can go up to, switch it to polygons, go to mesh, combine. And that'll combine your character. Now, I'm going to click here, here, to bring up my channel box. Notice that, again, my character is upside down here. So what I want to do is I want to rotate him around. So if I click on the word rotate, Y, and I hold my middle mouse in, I can actually rotate him. Another thing I can do so I'm going to right click, go to object mode, select him again. Again, something I need to cover, is Alt and middle wheel, and you can pan. You could scroll the wheel in and out to zoom, Alt and left click out here. I'm kind of brushing over this because in the table modeling video we cover all of that. So let's go ahead and click on rotate Y. You'll see that it rotates it this way. I want to rotate it on the x-axis, like this. So what I'm going to do here, actually let's just go ahead and do this. Let's rotate it on Z. We're going to do about 180 degrees. I'm going to pan, hit W, and move him up. So we have him there. I want to make sure that these attributes are clean, so I'm going to go to Modify, Freeze Transform, and I'm going to go to Edit, Delete All by Type, History. So let's take a look at assigning some textures to our monster. So I'm going to right click, go down to Assign New Material. I'm going to go with a blend, and I'm going to change it from Blend 1 to Monster. Now say you click off and you lose that. You can left click back on your monster, right click, go down to Material Attributes, and you'll see you found your monster. So because we set project, it's going to take us directly to the directory where our textures are saved. So I'm going to click Color here. I'm going to go to File, click on this folder here, select my monster diffuse, and hit Open. You'll see there that we now have our monster diffuse, but our character is pretty faceted. So I'm going to right click on my monster, go to Edge Mode, select all of the edges. Then I'm going to shift right click, go to Soften Harden Edge, click on Soften Edge. Now our monster still doesn't look as cool as it did in ZBrush. It looks really low poly and weak. So what I want to do is, again, right click, go down to Material Attributes, and under Bump Mapping, click this option here. Then I'm going to go to File. I'm going to change it to Tangent Space Normals. That's for normal maps. Click up to File 2 here, and go to my normal map, which is this guy right here, and hit Open. You're not seeing it active in the viewport. We have to be in high quality render mode to see our normal map. Now you can see our low poly mesh with that ZBrush normal map that we made in the viewport. Okay, so let's take a look at sort of cleaning up our topology a little bit on our model so that we can rig it in the next video. So the first thing I want to do is clean up any areas where I know his knees are going to bend. Now notice that I hold spacebar here and I right clicked on the word my and went down to front, and he's actually backwards. So I'm going to click here again for my channel box. On Y, I'm going to rotate him around 180 degrees. Do Edit, or do Modify, Freeze Transformation. So I'm going to go to Perspective View, and we have our clay looking monster here. He looks like something out of Robot Chicken. And I just want to go in and again, just kind of clean up some of this geometry. So I'm going to go to Front View, and I want to create something called a cap for the knees. Now, if I go in here and I move these verts around, so I right click, go to Vertex Mode, and I start moving these verts around, you'll notice it screws up my texture. Well, there's a really nice option that allows us to edit both sides at the same time and to move these around. So first, I want to turn on Preserve UVs, and I want to scroll down and make sure reflection is on. So when I do that, notice that it selects both sides. And I could hit R, scale this in, and what you'll notice is it didn't affect the texture. See how I'm going up and down and you still see the texture on there? Another example is I can kind of move this around on his face. Notice how it doesn't really tweak the texture. Not like how it would if preserve UVs was off, where it does stretching. See that? Okay, let's make sure that's back on. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click this edge here, hit R, and for now just move them closer to the knee. I'm hitting R, I'm bringing that down, I'm just moving this up. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm hitting R, I'm just straightening out this edge, bringing it down a little bit. Same thing with this guy. I'm making sure that this edge is directly in the middle. Here, I'm going to hit R, bring this down. Alright. Let's go to perspective mode. Okay, in the next video we're going to look at rigging our monster.